Okay, so I've got 3 different examples that we'll do together behind me. We are on lesson 10 of module 5 for 5th grade mathers. We've been doing volume for the past pretty much week now, and volume and area are very closely linked. So we are going to work on area, but we will continue to work on volume as well because we've got both volume and area on our end of module assessment. So with volume, we know that it's Victor lies when he is hungry for rectangular prisms. So that would be V equals L times W times H, or multiplied. So we've got V equals L times W times H. That is volume. V stands for volume. Now for area, we know it is A equals L times W, or just length times width. Volume just adds in the third dimension, because if it's volume, if it has volume, it's a 3D object. Whereas with area, it's only a 2D object, so we only have 2 dimensions. Perfect, our 2 dimensions are length and width. Okay, now with this, we know if we were to have, let's say, something, you guys can barely see this color. Here, I'll give it this. Okay. We would have, say we had an object that was 6 inches in length and 3 inches in width. What would the area be? You're right. I know I heard you. I heard you guys. 6 inches our length times our width, 3 inches equals 18. And then because it's 2-dimensional, so inches times inches, we're going to do inches squared. So it'd be 18 inches. You guys can't see this part. It'd be 18 inches squared for a nice object that was 3 inches by 6 inches. Okay, so let's move that on over, down that wonderful knowledge that we have, on over to this object. This is a nice rectangle. I know that because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units in length and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units in width, meaning that it can't be a square unless it was 5 units and 5 units. So this is a rectangle, and with this, it is each of these units, each of these boxes are 1 inch by 1 inch. So this part is 1 inch, and this part is 1 inch. So what I can do is I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 1 inch plus 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 1 inch, or 1 inch times 6, giving us 6 inches. Ooh, hold on. 6 inches for this side, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches for this side. So to find the area of this, it would be 6 times 5, 6 times 5, 6 times 5 equaling 30, and then we've got inches. It's 2-dimensional, meaning it's inches squared. So there's 30 square inches in this. That is the volume of that one. Now, what if we were working with one that had not whole numbers, or not just whole numbers, for our square units, but if they had mixed numbers or fractions involved. So for this guy over here, each of these square units is, and it's tilted, I'm sorry, but each of these square units is 1.5 inches. Oops. Okay, so that's 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. Each square inch is 1.5 inch. So with that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 square inches. We can say 7 units. 7 units. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 units over here. Now we have to figure out how much 4 units is equal to when we know that each of these lengths is 1.5 inches. So we have to do 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5, or 1.5 times 4. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. We do it this way. So 1.5 times by 4. So I have to do 4 times 1. Giving me 4, and then 4 times a half, which is 4 over 2. And that, my friends, 4 and 4 over 2 equals 6. Because 4 over 2, or 4 divided by 2, is 2. And then you add 4, and that's 4. Another way to do this, so that you can visually see it, it is 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5. Equaling 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 plus 1, 2. So that's 1.5 plus 1.5 is 1. And then another 1/2 plus 1/2 is another 1. So that's 4 plus 1 plus 1. 6. So this side is 6 inches in length, or sorry, in width. 6 inches in width. So now we've got to do the same thing to this side. So we have to do 1.5 inches times 7, because there's 7 total units, meaning 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 to get our whole length of this rectangle. So 1.5 times 7 is 7 times 1 equals 7. And then 7 times a half is 7 halves. And 7 halves is really 7 divided by 2. 7 divided by 2 is 3 with 1 left over. So that's 7 plus 3.5, giving us 10.5 inches for this whole side. Now to find the area, we have just figured out what the dimensions are. That's all we did. We figured out what the length and the width are of this rectangle. So our width is, you can see that, our width is 10.5 inches, and then our length, our width is 6 inches, and our length is 10.5 inches. So now we got to go back to our area equation to figure out our area of this rectangle. So area equals length times width. So I need question mark, because we don't know what the area is, equals length, 10.5 inches is our length, so 10.5 times by the width is 6. Awesome, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to multiply that out. So 10 times 6 equals 60, and 6 times a half is 6 halves, and 6 halves really is 6 divided by 2. That gives us 3, so it's 60 plus 3, or 63. 63 inches squared, because it's two-dimensional. I can't pick up, well, I guess I could pick it up, but I can't like throw it and it be a rectangular prism. It's a rectangle. It's 2D, two-dimensional, meaning we have to do inches squared, not cubic inches or inches cubed. Okay, so that's our one example. Now, going on to our last example. This one is along the same lines. This one is 2 1/4 inches for each side of the square inch. So this one's 2 1/4, and this guy's 2 1/4. Okay, so the way to figure this out is the same thing. We gotta count how many units there are on each side. So for this length, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 units. And that would be 2. So to figure that out, we do 5. So the amount, 5 times 2 1/4. So 2 1/4 times 5 goes 5 times 2, that's 10. Then 5 times 1/4 is 5/4. 5/4 is really 5 divided by 4, which is 1, and 1/4 left over. So I do 10 plus 1 1/4, give me 11 1/4. I'm going to shift this so you can see it. So 11 1/4 inches for the length of our rectangle on this one. Now this guy is how many units in width? 1, 2, 3. So we got 3 units in width, and we have to multiply that by 2 1/4 inches to figure out what our total width is, because it's 2 1/4 plus 2 1/4 plus 2 1/4. So I'm going to do 2 1/4 times 3. Giving us 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 1/4 is 3/4, and that equals exactly what it is, 6 3/4. We can't simplify that any further. So it's 6 3/4 inches. So that's our width. So we've got our length and our width, and now to find our area, we go back to our area equation. Area equals length times width. So I'm just going to take, so area, I'm going to put a question mark on my area because I don't know what it is yet, equals length. Our length is 11 1/4 times by our width, which is 6 3/4. So that's 11 1/4 times 6 3/4. And let's figure out what that equals. Now looking at this looks crazy with the mixed numbers on both sides, meaning it's a whole number and a fraction and a whole number and a fraction. So I'm going to put them into improper fractions. I'm going to take the 4 and multiply it by the 11 and add in the 1, making it 45/4. Now I'm going to do the same thing to this guy. I'm going to do 4, so take our denominator, multiply it by our whole number, so 24, because 6 times 4 equals 24, and then add in our 3, and that is 27/4. We multiply those together. Now I just get to go straight across, so 45 times 27. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm going to do that. Okay, I took the time and did it, and I got 1,215 for 45 times 27. So that's 1,215, and then we know 4 times 4 is just a simple 16. Now, looking at these numbers, I can just test if 3 doesn't go into this. We know 2 doesn't go into it. We know 5 doesn't go into both of them. I think they're as simplified as possible, because otherwise something would have come up already. So I'm going to keep them as is. And that's going to be my area. 1,215 divided by 16